Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Freedom Train podcast series. I am Joseph Ward. As always, my homie Patrick Irvin. He back up in the building. What's up, Pat? You back? Yeah, he had a hemorrhoid flare up, so he back though.
I did. I did. I got some Mercurochrome cured it up.
There you go. Oh, that's better than that preparation.
Yeah, it's like Tussin except for your asshole.
There you go. Getting it in. Keep it clear. Hey man, of course, joining us is Professor Carl Tone Jones. What up, PC? We call him PC. What up?
What's going on, brothers? How y'all feeling out here today?
Chilling.
Doing
Hey,
good.
hey, we got a good show. The return show for everybody together. We got a good one. But before you see Pat looking like a villain, looking like Bane from the South
Yeah.
Side. But
Yeah.
before we get deep into this, y'all already know we got to shout out our sponsors because we're brought to you by PAX Inc. And that's PACTSINC. And PAX Inc. is a Black development organization aimed at developing the Black community to its maximum potential through a focus on education and economics with the traits of hard work, honesty, and integrity. For more information, make sure you visit their website at www.pactsinc.org. You're going to learn a whole bunch of stuff about the organization, how to become a member, how you can donate, how you can get involved. Have a learning center tab. That's my favorite. Have a lot of resources in there that you can use. Also, PAX Inc. is a part of the Amazon Smile program, and this is another way to support the organization. Type in Amazon Smile. Bam, it's going to ask you to sign up. You sign up. It's going to ask your organization you want to support. Type in PACTSINC. Bam, you can support PAX Inc. So every time you go to Amazon, type in Amazon Smile, work the same way as regular Amazon. You buy something, portion of your proceeds go to the organization. Hook that up. PACTSINC.org. Make sure y'all visit our Freedom Train website at www.freedomtrainradio.com, where we got some of the greatest podcasting in the world. Freedom Train podcast series, the Fix Sports podcast, Lessons from the Screen, Shelby's World, the Enigma Set Hour, and the featured featuring Cliff Jackson the third, really going down. And we got a show that's gonna be coming, well, not coming back, but a new show that's gonna be coming to the network. Professor Carl Tone Jones. So and Professor got a lot of new stuff going on too, because it's right here in my hands. Right here in my hands is a copy of his new book. So PC, if you will, tell us about what you got coming up, your book and your podcast and everything you got coming, so people can support you.
Thanks for that illustrious introduction. The podcast, we're going to sort of resume what we've been doing in the past, but we're going to step it up a level. So we'll be office hours. We'll be back in the lab, setting up my office right now so that it'll be podcast proficient. And we're going to be talking about various issues. We're going to be talking about different pages in the book and leading off with that for a lot of the conversation. We're going to deal with current events, and things that pertaining to the Black community, things of importance. And, we're going to have special guests, specifically people who were in the Independence Day Project movie. Both of you brothers made appearances and were featured in the Independence Day Project movie. So, we're going to, have interviews and just talk about, the work that led to the Independence Day Project and the work since. And we definitely have to talk about the effects of the coronavirus, the pandemic, and how it affected our community, still affects our community. And are we really ready for, the post-pandemic world, the new world order that we seem to be dealing with or coming into that seems to be coming into focus right now. So a lot is coming. We're gonna have merch, so just keep on the lookout because we got a lot of things going, and we're gonna continue to build, continue to build the family right here.
Really going down. So 2020 through the eyes of a social media revolutionary is the name of your new book. So give us the whole rundown. Why did you write the book? What's the book about, and how can people get the book?
Well, the book was a concept and an idea that I had for several years. In fact, around the time that Mike Brown and all those brothers were killed, Eric Gardner, they were killed in the to early 2014, mid 2014 was around the time that I wanted to start utilizing social media as a caveat to something more.
Right.
So I started collecting uh things that I had written on social media before, but for whatever reason that project fell apart, and I then started focusing on the Independence Day project. Well, throughout 2020, I just thought that 2020 was a year that needed to be chronicalized, and chronicalized in a way that showed people that those of us who are boots on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
grassroots organizers and grassroots workers in the community, these are some of the things that go through our mind, and some of the thoughts. So I took a collection of a lot of the things that I put on social media, and I put it in the book in a chronological way for which you can actually see the effects of the environment and the community, and that it actually had on people who get out there into the field. And I did it in a way for which I wanted to foster critical thinking. So instead of attaching essays or explanations to it, I simply used what was on the screen at the time
Mm-hmm.
and presented it in a print form and in a text form. And hopefully it would spur critical thinking to whomever read it. And one of the things that I got, some of the reviews that I got, were that people would come to a particular page and a page that they can relate to, and they literally would stay on that page for
Right.
about 15, 20 minutes trying to, identify, correlate, or just reflect on what that message meant to them. And throughout the time of since we selling this book since February, mid-February, so many people have hit me up and sent me screenshots or taken pictures of specific pages and passages that sort of caused them to reflect. And even some people read the book and it inspired them to go back and finish written projects that they had before. So, it's just been an awe-inspiring, ordeal. And I can't keep them in stock. I've been invited to do two different book signings here in Philly. The problem is I can't stockpile the books fast enough because people are buying them as soon as I get them. And so in fact, I have some pre-orders sitting right now for a shipment that's coming in later this week. So
That's a good problem.
Yeah, it's a great problem. Sure.
That's what's up. Nah,
yeah,
that's what's up, man. Congratulations on the book and the success around the book.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you, brothers, for all your support. Um, you know, thank you for everything, man. You dudes y'all the real deal. You know what I'm saying? People who don't know who Joseph Ward and Patrick Irvin is, they really need to get to know who y'all brothers are, because a lot of these things I couldn't do without y'all support. So I appreciate y'all for everything y'all do.
Man, we hold each other down. That's what we do. We out here. We are out
Yeah.
here. I'm looking for. I just passed and it was talking about the Gullah Geechee and Nat Turner in the rebellion. I'm looking forward because
Yeah,
me, I like the rebellious stuff. But yeah, man. So where can people get the book?
well, you can get the book two ways. If you want to come through, if you want your book tomorrow, you can go to Amazon, and I suggest go to Amazon Smiles, identify PAX Inc. as your charitable organization. And once you do that, then you can order your book from Amazon, and Amazon will contribute a bit of the proceeds to PAX Inc. You can get your book right away. If you want an autographed signed book, you can hit me up. Like I said, the orders are coming in, and as soon as the orders come in, as soon as I get my hands on the book, I ship them out to you. So you can just hit me up on Facebook Messenger, Carl Tone Jones. You can hit me up. You can email me at ctone.cj@gmail.com. And that's ctone, that's CTONE 1111.cj@gmail.com. And if you don't have access to Facebook or Messenger, any of those things, and I'd be more than happy to, help facilitate the order through Cash App or PayPal or whatever is an effective means for someone to pay for shipping and handling and for the book as well as shipping and handling.
There you go. And as a behavioral health consultant and mobile therapist, I can tell you that therapy only helps those who are accountable and ready to apply lifestyle changes to their situation. So get your mind right and get this book, 2020 Through the Eyes of Social Media Revolutionary. If you want to think better, right? If you want to grow, if you want to stretch your mind and realize your potential, you need this book in your collection. Amazon.com, Carl Tone Jones. Get your mind right.
So I'm gonna go left with it. Earlier, when you were saying it's in your hands, it made it sound like you had the book in your drawers. So you should probably not do that no more.
See, no, not. I didn't say it's in my drawers. I said my hands. These two
Your
right here, my hands.
hands, like hands drawers.
No, yeah, HANDS, hands.
Right. Well, say hands. You said
That's
hands.
what I said.
You said HANES.
Yeah, hands.
Nah. He was channeling his inner Jerrick Daxyn.
Oh. Hey, so I'm glad you said that. I am glad you said that because it's a reason these two gentlemen are sitting in their cars, and we got a special guest that's gonna be joining us. So hold on real quick because this is about to get a bit spicy.
Dr. Tip's here. Need some advice to get the tip near. Tilt your head to feel tip for real. Tip and told to make them tip drill. Dr. Tip is here to help you with all your relationship needs. Send me your questions. He's got answers. You might like him, you might not. He might tell you to be a thought. He might tell you to get some self-respect. He might call you a simp. He might promote simpage. The world never
got a new item in the wardrobe with this.
Watch your mouth. Dr. Tip is back, aka Jerrick Daxyn. We in the place to be. My homeboys are in the cars. And I want to say my chest hairs are sponsored by KY Jelly. So if it's ever feeling tight and you can't get it right, squirt that KY and you'll have a good night. There you go.
Yes, and Jesus wept.
For somebody. So if you have been under a rock, you have no idea who the gentleman Derrick Jaxn, aka Internet relationship guru is, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's been telling women for years what they want to hear. Doing this and doing that and all these things. Everybody trying to get up on his dangling. Literally. Literally. So it come to light that the young man has been cheating on his wife again. Pastor Simmons style. Because it never really stopped. So I was off this week. I ain't had too much to do. So I got all up in the gossip. I know a whole lot of details that I normally wouldn't know, but I had nothing else to do. So I know all the details. So for those who don't know, Derrick Jaxn and his wife went live a couple days ago, about a week or so ago, because he got caught cheating. He got exposed by his little side chicks. He got like 3 current little side chicks that he got exposed by. And all the information is out. There's an internet lady named Tasha K. She has Unwind with Tasha K. I think that's the name of her channel. She's like been putting all the business out. She's been interviewing the side chicks and everything. But before we get deep into the details, what are you two gentlemen's thoughts about this whole situation with the Derrick Jaxn? Like Derrick Jaxn being built to the status that he was built to, like the rise and fall of Derrick Jaxn. Like, what are you all thoughts since y'all in y'all cars and PC, you got your V-neck on in the car, so you channeling all the energy,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, I'm going through the whole description,
So how y'all feel about my evil twin?
I just came from church. I just came from church looking for Derrick because he said he was going to go to church and talk to God.
Okay.
So my one of the things I said, and I did a live about this yesterday. um, is the fact that there are several things, several factors that need to be taken into consideration. First
Mm-hmm.
of all,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that his infidelity, that's a personal issue between him and his wife. So,
Right.
however they have to sort it out, whatever they have to do, that's an issue that shouldn't concern anybody in terms of the relevance to his marriage, right? But then you have this other aspect for which this brother was able to create a brand. And he didn't choose to, like Phil Knight. Phil Knight wanted to sell basketball sneakers, basketball tennis shoes turned to basketball shoes. Phil Knight didn't decide to be out there making himself the brand ambassador for his shoe. He went out and found athletes that could fit that model, hit the jackpot with Michael Jordan. So Michael Jordan became the brand ambassador. So Michael Jordan's image had to be clean and pristine. But Phil
Mm-hmm.
Knight's image, nobody even knew or cared about who Phil Knight was. So Derrick Jaxn created this image of what the perfect black man should be for a black woman. And
Right.
basically, this pristine image that he created, this flawless image that he created, he made and pinned himself as the brand ambassador. So
Right.
as the
Mm-hmm.
brand ambassador, and you're out here, you're doing workshops, you're doing speaking engagements, you're selling books, and you're preying on an audience, a very vulnerable audience of single black women, specifically single black professional women who are at their wits' end because all their lives they've been told that in order to get a good man or to not need a man until they're ready for a man, that they all they had to do was go out and live a certain lifestyle, become professional, become business oriented, and get their degrees and have this successful life and wait, and then a man will appear. Well, he sold that image to them. He told them they didn't have to lose weight. He told them they didn't have to do any of those things. And a man like him would be available at the end of the rainbow. Well,
Mm-hmm.
turns out the type of person he was talking about actually was him. In terms of
Dude, yeah.
being a total fuck boy and out here, with a wife, but you're out here, a serial cheater with several different women, and then you all have all kinds of game, this, that, and the other. You telling your women that they can look just like your wife. Meanwhile, you're cheating on your wife with these Instagram model type chicks. So basically, he owes that community that bought into him, he owes that community, some solace, or because they bought into him. He also owes black men a major league apology for besmudging the image of black men as being these intolerable fuckboys that need to grow up. Meanwhile, this young dude, because he just turned 30, if I'm not mistaken, he's just turned 30. This young brother who, I guess hindsight, it was foolish for most people to buy into the fact that this young guy had all this worldly experience. Nobody had it, but where did it come from? You know what I'm
See,
saying? So in other words, his experience had to come from his own experiences because he couldn't have lived life long enough to be that judgmental, witnessing or observing other people, specifically when you never see him citing any resources or sources for which he got the information.
see, that's why I don't wear a shirt up under my blazer, because you get the raw truth with me, right? Right. Because a real player ain't gonna really lie about it. Now just go ahead, Pat.
No, I mean, for me, it's the last thing PC said. Right. That's kind of where I've been. We talk about it all the time. If you're getting relationship advice from somebody, where are they pulling their information from? Um, Even in terms of like how if a dude is telling you how to get a guy, he's telling you how to get a guy like him because he can't tell you how to get another type of guy. If a dude is telling you to be a certain type of female, he's telling you to be the type of female that he would like because he can't tell you how to be another type of female. Now he can tell you you can get good generalized advice like talk to your man, you know, or talk to they can tell you to communicate with certain people to get certain information in order to maneuver in the space that they like. But from my admittedly limited consumption of Derrick Jaxn's content, that wasn't the type of information he was given. You know, he was down talking a specific type of man, and it was always interesting to me that nobody bothered to ask how he got so much inside information
At such a
about
young age.
fuckboys. Right. And so for me, it was always like, for him to know this much about fuckboys, he either is a fuckboy or he's surrounded by fuckboys. Neither one of those people are people that you really want to be listening to if you're a female that don't want to attract fuckboys. So as far as that, like, that's kind of always been my thing, and there's always been these rumors about Derrick Jaxn. Like this time is only more significant than the other times because his platform is bigger. But he like the story about him having a gag order on his ex, like that's been there. You know, the stories about him having cheated on his wife and all of these stories have been there. The only difference between then and now is, like I said, his platform is huge. But
Well,
these women need to be, and I say these women because men universally dislike Derrick Jaxn.
yeah.
I ain't met a man yet that's like, oh yeah, that dude be speaking the truth. I ain't met a single man yet that likes Derrick Jaxn. It's all women. And let's also be honest about this. I say 90% of his fan base is just women that's thirsty for him. You know, they like to look at him when he's talking on their phones or wherever they watch him at. They hearing the Maxwell song in their head. Like that's what we doing. So, you know, I think that, and that's always been an interesting thing as well, because men are universally criticized for being thirsty, but then you have somebody like a Derrick Jaxn. Let's not fake the funk. All right, but that's always been my thing. I agree with what PC said. His personal relationship with his wife, I feel like anybody that speaks about that is kind of out of pocket. That's an internal issue. Now, she's been going live and saying a lot of crazy shit. I think that's fair game.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to speak to his personal relationship with his wife because that's between them two, and that really ain't none of my business. Even though he made it his business to speak to other people's personal relationships with their people, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna work on my Michelle Obama. When you go low, I go high. So I'm gonna leave that be where it is. But that's
But
my
that
thoughts on it initially.
well, that's why we friends, because I go low. Right. And to be fair, they put the information out. The people
They
put the
did.
information out.
They
So
did.
not to dive all into it, because I really don't care. It's just funny. But the rise of him is it stems from people liking the way he looked and
Mm-hmm.
the information that he was given, how he gave the information. Specifically, the woman had the way his information is structured, the woman is always the hero. She's always
Mm-hmm.
the victim and always the hero. She's
Yeah.
always the person who's in the right, and the man is always the person in the wrong, specifically the black man.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so for years, men have been like, "Hey, man, so y'all cool with taking advice? First of all, y'all cool with taking, and for anybody, you cool with taking advice from some internet buddy. Even though visit me at drtip.com, I put my tip in to give you all the information you need. But none other than that, you really shouldn't be taking, other than Dr. Tip, myself, aka Jerrick Daxyn, you shouldn't be taking advice from people on the internet. But since you are, just taking some advice from some random person in their car because A, you like the way they look. So there's some emotion into that. And B, what this person is saying is eliciting even more of an emotional response from you. Not really thinking, but it's hitting certain points and triggering certain emotions. Like, yeah, especially if you've picked those certain dudes to be in your life and had those similar situations. But once again, like y'all pointed out, But how you know so much about how a fuck boy moves? Because I can't give you no top 10 list of how fuck boys move because I don't hang around fuck boys.
Yeah,
I can
I
spot one
don't.
when I see one.
Yeah, and that here's the thing, right? Because what it really comes down to, and why a lot of sisters really feel betrayed, is because they saw themselves in the same position his wife was in. There was only
Hmm.
one picture of his wife floating around that was popular before any of this happened, and in the picture she was pregnant. It was the wedding picture that they took. So
Hey,
they all looked at this sister and said, "I look better than her."
hey,
And like I had a
yes.
girlfriend show up at my father's funeral. Ex-girlfriend showed up at my father's funeral, and she saw my current girlfriend, and she said, "Well, once I realized I looked better than her, I wasn't even concerned about her no more." And it was funny because that is, when you start talking about the reaction to this one up in hurt and betrayal, because these sisters all fantasize, not all of them, but too many of them fantasize being having a romantic encounter with this man. And it was funny because I was watching Mamiya Obsidian, and he had said him and his assistant had attended a conference that Derrick Jaxn and a few of his comrades had here in Philly. And he said when his assistant, who was a woman, went to the bathroom, all she heard was women in the bathroom gushing over what they would do to him, do to Derrick Jaxn, if they got their chance to shoot their shot. So it goes further to illustrate that a lot of these sisters that follow these channels fantasize about having an encounter with that brother or a brother like him, which, like I said, he made himself the archetype. He made himself the brand for which he was selling to sisters. So there's a lot of sisters who looked at him, or men like him, in favorable fashion, that they thought that they could have an encounter with. And that speaks to something else too, real quick. Shahrazad Ali, Sister Shahrazad Ali, was on a show a few days ago, and she was talking about the black man's experience and how the black man is the best man on the planet. And one of the sisters the sister that was interviewing her immediately started sexualizing the significance of black men, talking about, there's something about the way a black man walks, and you can see her in her mind. You can already see her getting flushed, and she started talking about a black man swag and this, that, and the other. And Sister Shahrazad Ali had to check her, and basically say, listen, sisters, y'all got to stop overly sexualizing your encounters with black men. And see, that's the thing that people don't want to talk about. A lot of sisters, have these lists of about 50 things they want from a man, but when it comes down to it, sex always rises to the top of that list.
Sex and
And
money.
well, forget the money, because there's women out there that would sleep with a man and pay tuition, buy him all his video games, treat him and his friends, this, that, and the other, if the sex is that dynamite. And that's the thing that it's an oversimplification of the mating process that needs to be re-examined. Because in the sophisticated society that we live in, if you can be controlled by your libido, then you can be controlled by anything.
Right. Nah, that's real. Now, I guess what's interesting about all of this though is, the internet. The internet gonna internet. Right?
The
So
internet going internet.
they didn't went and dug up a whole bunch of information, right? And so, man, they didn't went back and found dudes college football picture and stats. And so what's interesting about the picture is, like, when you first started off, you're talking about picture with his wife and how uh, a lot of women are like, I look better than her.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, so they have this picture of these two college students, and she's not a bad looking woman, but she just don't look better than the other women that he's cheating with. So, and she dressed modest. They don't. She not built like those other women. And I know in one of the interviews I was listening to, that's what one of the ladies was saying, that she recognized that she looked better than the wife. and not to go too far into those interviews those ladies gave. Y'all can go to the Tasha K channel, check that out. But it's just the information that was given. Like the chick who's a surgeon. Yeah, Derrick lied to you and did all these things, but you were still willing to do stuff with him.
And hold on for a second, Joe. I gotta call bullshit on that. I gotta call bullshit on the fact that she didn't know who he was. I gotta call bullshit on the fact that a person as meticulous as a surgeon didn't do her due diligence to know who this man was. Specifically, you want to sleep raw with this dude.
But see, look, you know, I ain't no fool. Look, I'm with you. When as she was talking and she was like, hey, explaining all the stuff they did and then getting down to talking about raw sex and all these things and how many, like the way they had sex and some of the encounters and stuff. I'm like, and you a surgeon? And so
but let's not because there's a lot of people that's very professional at their job, but in their personal life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But so that's why I was going to say, I ain't gonna go down that road. All I'm dealing with is the information that we have. And the information that we have is they're basically trying to say allegedly he sleeps around a lot. The surgeon chick say she was pregnant at one point. I think one or two of the chicks was like he's physically violent. I think one of the chicks alleged that he got physical with his wife before, cheated on his wife when she was pregnant, a whole lot of bunch of other stuff. But it's just like that's the information that they have stacked against him. And in the background, he's allegedly living his life, but in the foreground, he's this relationship guru that half of our population is in love with. But now, think about it now, though. We got this pink pill movement, we got the red pill movement, we got the blue pill movement, we got these manospheres, we got these women liberation movements, and all these different things going on. But all I know is in our community, with all of this going on, Black relationships still ain't getting better.
No, and they're not going to, because I mean, look, you have even with the way this conversation is going, and Derrick Jaxn and his whole platform of single mothers are for grown men and this, that, and the third, and women are the prize and this, that, and the third. All that shit sounds good to women, but none of it is gonna fix the issues. A matter of fact, it's going to make the issues worse, because you need both sides to come to the table. And I know this is one of those true moments where you can honestly say you need both sides to come to the table. Black men and Black women have to be willing to come to the table and understand that things got to operate differently from both angles. But even with the way that this whole Derrick Jaxn fallout thing is happening from the female perspective, to me, it's kind of weird, because you are seeing a lot of women that's like, I look better than her. And it's like, yeah, to you, but guess what? She's married to the man you lusting after. And guess what else? For all your talk about how good you look, he ain't leaving her.
For you or nobody else.
He ain't going 14 years of sticking his dick in any woman that was willing to open her legs. And let's be clear, I'm pretty sure most of the women that he met were willing to open their legs. He's still with his wife. So at some point in your mind, it's got to register that even if, generally speaking, and it's quantifiable and it's provable that you look better than her, apparently that don't matter.
But see, the thing is, you got to be, for men and women, you got to be willing to be better than just a quick fuck, though.
Well, that goes back to that thing we talked about earlier. Go ahead, John. I'm just
no, but go ahead.
But that goes back to that thing we talked about earlier, and it's the fact of the matter is, for so long, when you start talking about what people have to bring to the table, for the longest, with for brothers, all you had to do, and this is one of them, blame on the brothers. All you had to do was show with some show with some good, show with some wop, and and that was pretty much it. And basically we had no standards in terms of getting it. with this new sort of like era in social media and the rise of, red pill discussions and things of that nature, a lot of men are starting to reevaluate that. A lot of brothers are starting to reevaluate the fact, and they're not so, not everybody, but a lot of brothers are looking at it from a perspective right now as to, well, there should be some standards outside of sex. In fact, let's take sex off the table. Now, what do you bring to the table? And see, unfortunately, sisters have to sort of recalibrate. And this is a situation where, like Patrick said, we have to have a conversation about renegotiating or setting new standards. Because what we've morphed into right now is a modern era. But with some of these things, it's like a modern era, but still there are certain traditional values that both men and women want to uphold.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not going to work.
Because okay, I'm cool with double standards as long as they benefit me.
Yeah.
I'm cool with being in the power of authority or in the position of power as long as it benefits me. So at the end of the day, we have both sides fighting for power when it shouldn't be like that, because then both sides fighting for power. All we know in our community, the Black community, it ain't working.
It's one of those things where in our community, the real power struggle should be us against the system of white domination, because that's the system. And now the system of Asian domination, because we're finding ourselves in the bottom of that barrel too. But we can't. But we don't seem to think we can win that fight. The only winnable fight we seem to be is the one against brothers against the sisters against the brothers, and there's where we sort of like draw a line in the sand, line of demarcation. And it's one of those things. Like I said, we have to negotiate a deal right now between Black men and Black women in terms of how we're going to relate to one another, how much respect we're going to show for one another, because that's what it's coming down to right now, a serious lack of respect. And I can say it's on both sides, but if we're not going to show the want, because both societies right now are both saying, man, I could do bad by myself. Nah, I'm gonna tell you right now, as a single Black man, this shit is horrible.
We should subscribe to doing bad all by ourselves. We need each other. Like at the end of the day, we need you. But see, that's my whole big old thing. Like I know we got jokes and all these things, and we're using the Derrick Jaxn situation as an example. But the overall thing is to really think and analyze like how we are interacting with each other, Black men and Black women. Like I'm gonna keep saying it ain't whatever we doing as a whole. I ain't talking about everybody's individual situation, but as a whole, what we doing, it ain't working, because for somebody to rise as a guru on a specific topic, whether you male or female, rise as guru on these topics, on the topic something like this, and you don't even really have the life experience to back it up, but it just sound good what you saying. Because it's like Kevin Samuels tell women, young girls all the time. He asks them, "Do you have a father?" Yeah. Your father in your life? Yeah. You have a good relationship with your father? Yeah. So why are you talking to some strange dude on the internet?
Because she don't have a good relationship with her father, and she's not self-aware enough to realize it.
Right.
And I think that's what we keep running into these problems. People are not honest with themselves about the situations they're in, the role they played in putting themselves in it, and how to get out of it. And now you live in a world where the illusion is more powerful than reality. You got people that oppose for pictures and shit on social media for that digital clout, but then be living in filth in real life. And I'm talking about mentally and physically, as well as spatially, as far as their physical locale. But it's all about how people see them instead of it being about how they really are. And in the situation we're in now, for so long, women have been, to echo what's been said, women have been the prize in a relationship. Men, biologically speaking, are hardwired to want to spread our seed. And you don't get A high is great as the high you get when you are having a successful reproductive campaign.
Right.
But what men have to do is override that hard wiring and take control of our dicks. But at the same time, the truth of the matter is, for everybody that want to get on to Derrick Jaxn about cheating on his wife, he didn't cheat with himself. And this is
Right.
something that's said frequently, that every time you say it, people be like, ah, they just wave it off because it says so much. But it's a valid argument. If this dude has cheated 30 times on his wife, he's cheated with 30 women that were willing to say, fuck your relationship and fuck your wife.
Mm-hmm.
What? Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So a
that.
lot
That's
of
that
them.
word. That's that big word with the capital A called accountability.
Well. Once again, too, like you got to vet people too. So according to the ladies, they said he told them that he was married but separated and going through a divorce.
Mm.
And
And
so
plausible
according to
deniability.
I look, I'm just putting the information. That's my job. Just put the information out there. I ain't saying who right or who wrong, but that's the information that we have. But still, all in all, it's being more being more selective. Like if you feel like it ain't right, it ain't right. Like red flags were there, so you know, don't just drive through the red flags if they're there. But his behavior, because you're right, he wasn't cheating by himself. Their behavior, whatever. But it's it's like it has affected our community.
It has. It
Yeah.
has very negatively because I personally know women that ascribe to Derrick Jaxn and they listen to what he was saying. Um, and they're hurt.
You feel
Like
betrayed.
they're hurt. Yeah, they do. They feel betrayed. They bought in. They were looking for a guy like Derrick Jaxn, and now they realize that they've probably bumped into a lot of guys like Derrick Jaxn and had failed relationships with all of them.
Mhm.
And it goes back to something that that a lot of people have said before. You can have the perfect man, quote unquote perfect man, but you're gonna have to share him.
Well, and there lies because there are these unrealistic, unrealized standards now that have been placed on relationships in terms of who qualifies for what. And one of them has been this whole notion behind high value, right? High value men, this, that, and the other. And this is a notion, contrary to popular belief, it didn't just start with, our Lord and Savior Kevin Samuel. It started, it started, listen, I'm a big Kevin Samuel fan, so I say that in a complimentary way. But the, this is a notion that started in like the 80s. And it
Yeah, it's an
started in
old
the 80s.
notion.
Yeah, this notion of about a man, because the questions didn't start with men, from what I understand. The question started with surveys asking women, "What do
Right.
you consider, a man that would be compatible for you?" And in the 80s, they were saying, "Well, we want a man making at least six figures. We want a man that is resourceful. We want a man that has a certain level of pull in the world." And all those things, you added all those things up, and then it became the high value man, and that became the man that's the most desirable. That's when you started hearing conversations about the most eligible bachelors and things of that nature. It just wasn't called high value back then. And so you got this select you got all of these women who are pining for this particular cookie cutter of a man without even thinking about who that man is. But they are drawn to the lifestyle of what they think that man can provide, not understanding that what you see on TV with a lot of these athletes and entertainers and all of these different shock and jock shows, with like the housewives of whatever, and basketball wives and whatever. That's not a high value lifestyle. That's a celebrity lifestyle. They're two different things. But we got so many people drawn to that one thing that they are penning for it, but that's a small segment of the population. Less than 10% of the male population in America make over $100,000 a year. And then when you want to add 6-footer to that, now you're talking about 3% of the men. And if you want to add the quotient of him being a black man, you're talking about less than 1% of those men are black men who are all 6 feet tall and considered a high value man. And so you have all these women pining for 1% of men, and that's why so many women are disappointed right now. Because the average brothers like us, you don't have to have all them super high standards. I like a little meat on your bones. Not now. I like you to be fit now, but I don't need you to be a size 4. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to negotiate a different deal.
What's interesting is I watched a documentary about a lady who was an editor of Cosmo, and basically revealing a lot of the bullshit that they were telling women because it was entertaining and it was fun. It was spicy, something to improve sales, something to get more readers and more people interested in Cosmo. So they started deliberately lying to the women to get more readers. And a lot of the information that was given was about relationships and being single and the liberation movement, because they were saying the women's liberation movement and the sexual revolution were two different things before this particular woman started in that Cosmo. And after that, they purposely constructed the messages to merge both. So now 2020, you have the idea of women's of a sexual revolution and sexual freedom tied into women's liberation, with these ideas that were manufactured that people are revealing, that say, hey, yeah, we purposely manufactured these messages, but not for our support of women, but for the support of our pockets.
Yeah, well, basically there was a meeting. There was a meeting in the early 70s with all of these particular conglomerates. About 75 people that were there, and they had determined that they need to merge the sexual liberation movement, the women's suffrage movement, and then the anti-abortion. The pro-choice abort movement, and get them all together under one umbrella. And for all of the different sects of that particular group, all of them got something out of it. What the magazines like Cosmopolitan did, they were able to sell more of their products because more people bought into the ideas of the magazine. And what you have now in this particular time, a lot of women are pissed off right now because they feel like they were sold a lie. A lot of women who started off and teaching their children that, you don't want to be a housewife, you want to be single, you want to be this, you want to be that. Well, a lot of those single women right now, they're in their mid to late 30s, early 40s and 50s, and they beautiful women. They can find men that'll have sex with them, but they can't find men that'll turn a relationship into an engagement, then that engagement into a marriage. Because most men, the value structure doesn't pair up. And that's why I say black men and black women need to come to the table, because honestly, neither one of us had a dog in that fight.
It's that starter kit, that single starter kit.
Yeah, that's the you're gonna die alone starter kit. And
but it's the messages though, and it's especially the messages that are given to women, particularly black women, and then the messages that are given to black men in response to a lot of the things that are given to black women. And now we're drifting so far apart. It's ridiculous, and it's neither side should have the notion, like we've been saying, neither side should have the notion that it's okay to die alone without my counterpart. Like, we can't accurately fight white supremacy with just one side.
But that's another part of the illusion or the delusion that a lot of people are under, is this idea that I'm okay. I'd rather be alone than to settle, or I'm okay with this, or I'm okay with this. Like, all of those are little code phrases for why you haven't done a proper self-analysis to figure out what's keeping you from being in a successful relationship. Because we're human beings. I'm probably the most loner type individual I know. Like I'm cool not really being fucked off with nobody. But even still being a human being, humans are social creatures. We crave relationships. We need relationships. We need friendships. We need intimate relationships. We need platonic relationships. We need all of those things for successful mental development, mental growth, and mental health, period. Sustaining mental health as we grow and move forward through our lives. So, this notion that you can be okay being alone in and of itself is problematic. That a lot of like that bill of goods is being sold a lot, and you do see a lot more women buying into it as time goes by. This concept that, you know what I'm saying, if I don't have a man by 35, then I'm gonna just get some cats and be a cat lady. Yeah, it's funny, but when you really think about it seriously, like that type of mentality is a horrible mentality to have if you're single. And so basically you're putting yourself on the timetable of your own biological clock. I just think there's a lot of damaging, there's a lot of, like PC would say, normalizing damage that's happening right now. Like we're just going to normalize dysfunction. We're going to, it's
Right,
okay to
right,
be fucked
and,
up.
and make excuses for it,
Right,
Not only
and it's not.
it's branded.
and coddle
It's,
people who revel in it. Just coddle them and make them like the heroes of the misery.
well,
Yeah,
here,
like it's never okay to just accept being miserable. Like if you were with somebody and they passed, relationships, I understand going through grief. I understand legitimate periods of not wanting to be with anybody. But to just accept that you're gonna be alone for the rest of your life and to not even try to improve yourself or try to find somebody, and you know, I know people that actively push people away, and on one hand, but then on the other hand will be craving a relationship.
mhm. Yeah, well, and nothing made that clearer than the lockdown that came from the pandemic and the quarantine. Because I have never seen so many people whose Facebook stories look like an advertisement for an OnlyFans page. Actually, some of them were advertisements for OnlyFans pages. But but you see, because the day-to-day attention that you got from walking to and from places and being in the work environment and all the flirting and all that stuff, when people are removed from all of that, that's when they start to realize, and that's when the panic kick in about how much they really crave the attention
Yeah, man,
of
interact.
the opposite sex and interaction. So one of the things that I always say is people need therapy, because therapy will help you get to that place where you can start rationalizing your decisions. And a good therapist will give you enough chances to look in the mirror before that session is done. They give you enough chance, because as a therapist, I'm gonna tell you, the first 5 or 6 times somebody comes to me in therapy, they're lying. Period. Because they believe the lies, and they want to believe, as much as they came to therapy, they want to believe it's everybody else's fault that they're in the predicament that they're in. So it's not until about the sixth session or so that people start really coming down, because a good therapist is like a prosecuting attorney. We're going to keep asking you questions in different ways until we get you to answer the question the way you need to hear it. So um when you start hearing people talk and this, that, and the other, that's why this Derrick Jaxn thing is really messing people up, because what this was, people are living lies and people are living delusionally. Patrick spoke about it earlier, about the fact that people are not being sincere about who they are. People live a life full of affirmations. That's why you're seeing all these affirmations that people subscribe. Some people do like 15 freaking affirmations a day on social media. And you know that these affirmations are ways where people use to lie to themselves about the standards that they have and the conditions that they're in and who they think they believe and who they think they deserve. But the bottom line is, they're still in those same situations, because the person that was posting 15, 20 affirmations 6 months ago are still posting 15 to 20 affirmations today. They're not improving their conditions. They're not improving their situation. And they're getting older. They're getting
So
older.
so hold up, you mean tell me the social media affirmation, inspirational memes don't work?
Hell no. In fact,
Oh man,
even
I've been
the book,
reading them.
in the book, I even write about some people. Some people are submitting the affirmations that are going to leave them single forever.
Yeah, you know,
That's just that.
I see it as an extension of toxic positivity. Um, because in order for you to truly self-reflect, in my opinion, you have to accept some negativity in your life, in the world, and what you bring to it.
Right.
And we currently live in a society where everybody wants to reject everything negative, including negative things about themselves. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? I'm not narcissistic. Everybody else just got low self esteem. You know what I'm saying? I don't have these problems. Everybody else just has the problem. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And this,
Mhm.
and even when somebody brings it to them in a positive manner, they accept the compliment while rejecting the real criticism that's the meat and bones of what was said. You can say, yo, I really love that you do this, but it also means that you do this, this, and this, and those things aren't good for you. Well, you know what? I appreciate you recognizing that I do this because I spend a lot of time doing this thing that you said good about me. I'm just not even gonna, I don't even hear the rest of that
Acknowledge.
stuff
Right.
you said.
Right. So
So,
you're
you know
not
what I'm saying?
improving.
Right.
We are
And
not
that,
improving.
but that's the problem, right? Like these motherfuckers, they really be walking around here. Um, like not like let me be clear in my, and this is all my perspective, I gotta say that um negativity keeps you alive, and it also keeps you moving forward. When you find out there's a lion in the bush, you don't go in the bush no more.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? When you find out that the berries are poisonous, you stop eating them.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? When you find out that you're in a dangerous situation and you can acknowledge the danger, you make a real world decision
Okay.
that puts you in a better situation.
So
The
what you
world we
saying?
live in, what's up?
So what you saying is, if you realize that you keep attracting toxic relationships, fix that so you won't continue to attract toxic relationships instead of continuing in consecutive
Right,
toxic relationships.
right.
But that's not
Because
fun, Pat.
right, it's not, and everybody want to be excited, right? Like that's the number one complaint you hear from people in marriages. My marriage is boring. But here's the deal, right? The the society we got going on right now is all about fun and excitement and this, that, and the third. And you know, oh, the berry ain't poison. You just cooked them wrong. You know what I'm saying? The
What?
lion in the bush is cool. You just got to know how to pet it right.
No, man. Listen, big children is what we've produced over the last several decades. Big children. I'm grown children because only children believe that they shouldn't be accountable. And there's no accountability metric that you know will have you responsible for the decisions, consequences, pro or benefits from your decisions. We accept all the benefits, but we don't want none of the consequences that come from the decisions we make or the way we live. And
Right.
in regards to that, I mean, as the black community, we have to always look at the social political dynamic. And the fact that we are really trying to still recover from the crack cocaine era in regards to the destabilization of the family unit in the black community has to, be given some credence in regards to why we're struggling so much right now to identify a system of real functionality in
Well,
regards to relationship standards between black men and black women. We lost a lot. Before Bobby Wright was talking in the 70s, and he was saying by the time, you have 100 black boys and 100 black girls, by the age of 5, you still have 100 black boys for every 100 black girls. But by the time they reach 18, there's now 68 black boys to 100 black girls, just based on
Mm-hmm.
societal issues, struggles that black boys were facing, dealing with discrimination and otherwise, prison industrial complex and otherwise. Um, and now that was in the 70s. If you want to go to the 90s and crack cocaine, and then you talk about now, you're talking about, I mean, I haven't seen the estimation, but I would have to imagine that that number is well under 50 black eligible black males, not men, black males for black females or black women at that particular time. And so the whole dynamic of scarcity and all these other things start to kick into effect. We have a lot of things that need to be unpacked in dealing with the ills that come with dealing with the breakdown of black males, black men and black women. And then we have social media, like Pat said, everybody's new avatar. This is like that movie The Sixth Day, where Bruce Willis were in there, and they had people who lived their lives through avatars that walked and talked, and androids up. Surrogates, that's what it was. Surrogates. And the six day was some other shit. But so I love the sci-fi films. But we got people who live their lives like that now through social media. Fake backdrops. They have the whole house is crawling. Some can't even avoid it. They take pictures in dirty bedrooms when their children in the background, they twerking. Or, got some other shit going on. We got people who live this life posing on cars they don't own. We got people who live a fantasy lifestyle right now, and it's all cap. But the bottom is, if your life is all cap, then what happens when you take the cap away? You got to deal with yourself.
Yeah. And people look in the day and time, especially when you can escape into your social media life that you've created. People aren't dealing with their true selves. No matter how much you post it, no matter how much you talk about it, people aren't dealing with reality. Because you mentioned not healing from the trauma. We haven't really healed from any of the trauma we faced as a people. All of it is going back to even before slavery, when you first encounter white people, to putting black people on the boats and bringing us over here. Like, there's been no healing from none of that, and everything on down, crack cocaine, and now everything that's happening now. To add COVID on top of that, it's like we got 100 mountains on our back that we haven't really dealt with, and then we're trying to build families, create families, and raise people, and try to raise productive citizens that can help black people get to where we need to be. It's going to be hard to do that when you haven't gotten any help. You haven't shaken none of the residuals of all the trauma that we've experienced. No healing at all. Just throw us back out in the world, and we're just supposed to be okay. That's why in 2021, here we are. So,
well, I do want to say, because I did crunch some of those numbers in my book. And so by eligible, this is how I defined eligible: not gay, not in prison, and over 18. Now, we all know when we're talking about serious relationships, there's a lot more to it, because everybody got their standards. But if I'm remembering correctly, according to the numbers I crunched, and I talked about it in the book, if I'm remembering correctly,
is that what's the
yeah, that's the chasm. The
I just got another
chasm.
copy the other day. I just got
Yeah.
all right.
So but I believe the numbers are it's like 75 black men for every 100 black women nowadays, and I think a lot of that is driven by the fact that I think the reason the numbers going up or went up instead of going down is because there are more black women. Black women also got incarcerated at a very, very large rate. And the growth of the black population just in general has stagnated. Like, our population is not growing at all.
Yeah, that's why the numbers of the Hispanics have grown past us.
Yeah. So, but really, that's one of the things that isn't really talked about, because it's not as huge as the growth of black men in prison. But there's been a substantial increase in the amount of black women in prison too. Now, it like I said, it pales in comparison to the amount of black men in prison, but it is significant in terms of percentage of increase. It's significant enough that I do think we really need to start looking at that, because we've been overlooking black people in prison for so long. that it's kind of become a thing, and now it's just like another one of those accepted narratives. Like black men, if you meet a black man, he's gonna be a felon or ex-con or something like that's just what it is. Um, and that's not something that's really taken that seriously. But now when you look at the fact of, okay, well, there's been an increase in black women in prison as well, and there's been an increase in black children born in correctional facilities, and there's been a like when you just lay down the whole narrative of it, it is really something that needs to be talked about in its totality. The problems that black men are facing, the increase in problems that black women are facing, the problems that black children are facing when they are born in correctional institutions or have parents in correctional institutions facilities, and even just the a lot of the unsung underreported or little spoken of side effects of what happened in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And you know me, I think the 90s was the golden era for black people in America. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think we're ever going to see a 90s again. And I feel like we mishandled the 90s because in the 90s, we had the ability to do a lot of shit that we can't do anymore. We missed that opportunity, and it ain't coming back.
Yeah.
Not that I can see.
Yeah.
But we need to talk about the 90s and what happened, and how we can do something different about it.
Right. Right. So you had the last point, PC?
Oh no, because I think that ended. I think you ended it on a good note. I think that conversation is the whole show in itself.
It
So,
is.
Right. So and not to beat this conversation to death, because we need to come back and deal with it with the different layers of it. But you know, the overall conversation of, are we truly happy with the state of relationships with black men and
No,
black women in
we're not.
America?
hell no.
So let's do real stuff to fix it, and let's stop doing the fake stuff. Because if we were doing the real stuff, you wouldn't be distraught that Derrick Jaxn got caught cheating.
Accountability.
Right.
If people are accountable, it fixes so many. It screws in so many of the loose bolts. It ties so many of the loose ends together. Accountability. Be accountable for who you are, what you bring to a person with tribute, and what this whole notion of settling. You don't settle. You get what you get. You know
Right.
what you qualify for. You ain't settling. Trust and believe, man.
So yeah. So transition a bit. Remember, visit drtip.org. .tip.org. Remember, so
You need to make that a real site if you're gonna be shouting it out, bro.
Pat, why you always got to throw? Why you always got to say stuff like that when people watching?
Nah,
Why you
I'm
can't wait
just
till we get
saying.
off? Why you couldn't wait till we get off to say that? Now people know there ain't no real site.
Nah, they might actually go for real now. So what you need to do
It
now
was a surprise, Pat, and you
is
just ruined it.
while we talking about it, you need to go ahead because you got your laptop in front of you. Go ahead and lock that domain down.
Man, Pat, I'm sick and tired of you.
Hey, you ain't the only one. You are not the only one. You are not alone.
So, over the past week, there have been quote unquote beefs brewing, which shouldn't be beefs, because one is a no neck ass grown man, and the other is a 21-year-old. So, Roland Martin, journalist Roland Martin. I'm not sure of the origins of all this, how it really started, but I know on Twitter, Roland Martin got into a back and forth with a young man named King Randall, and it was another young man that was in the back and forth with. And it all seemed like, from what I've seen, seemed like it stemmed off of uh, Roland's stance on voter suppression, his ideas about combating voter suppression, and King Randall and the other people saying, voter suppression isn't our fight. We're going to focus on what we focus on. We're going to do what we do. Voter suppression is your fight, not our fight. So Roland invited the young man on his show. You can go to the Roland Martin channel or the Boyce Watkins channel because Boyce being messy with all this stuff too. We're gonna get to his ass later. But so Roland Martin invites the young man on the show. Roland, this is my Roland. This is my Roland Martin impression with no neck. So Roland invite the young man up to the show. And then so Roland's stance is voter suppression. We need to concentrate on voter suppression. It's important. Voter suppression. So from the get, the young man was like, hey, all right, so all of us out here who want to make a change in the community, we're like parts of the body. And he literally said, I'm paraphrasing, but literally said something like this. We're all parts of the body. We all can't do the same thing. Everybody should pick their fight and do their fight, but we know what our overall goal is, and we should be linking together for the overall goal. But if politics is your fight, then my fight for him, his fight is going to be community work, building the school, working with the young men in the community, because that's literally what he does with his program called the X for Boys. You can go to his website, which is thexforboys.org. And so Roland basically, you know how Roland Martin bring people on the show and try to attack them and lambast them and try to bully them on his show. But what was impressive is the young man being 21 years old, basically, he seemed like he was prepared for it and was able to fight off Roland's little tantrum and stuff that Roland be having, still get his point across, articulate himself, talk about his program, and even agreeing with Roland on voter suppression shouldn't be happening, but it's happening. But once again, that's not his fight. And so before we even get into the part where we bring in Boyce Watkins and other people, how familiar are both of you with this particular situation?
I saw the interview. I think I saw a few snippets of the interview. It was floating around on social media, so that's pretty much all I'm familiar with. I am familiar with the young brother and the school and the program that he's building. I did get a chance to visit some of his stuff on IG. He's an impressive young brother, in terms of being 21 and those things that he got accomplished. But other than that, I can't really speak too much into it. I saw the argument, so that's about it for me.
What about you, Pat?
I did a decent amount of research on the young man's program. Not a lot, but a decent amount. And I'm familiar with Roland Martin and Boyce Watkins. So, as far as the situation goes itself, I'm not like super well informed, especially not on the Boyce Watkins piece. But yeah, I feel comfortable talking about it because I really, my opinions are my opinions.
Well, basically, I saw everything. Once again, I had time, so I saw everything. And Roland was acting like a little hoe. That's point blank period. He was acting like a little hoe. Roland was mad that he couldn't bully the boy. He was mad that he couldn't control the situation like he wanted. He was mad that the young man, because the young man he labeled himself as a conservative. I think Roland heard Republican and attacked him as if he's a Republican, and is saying, well, and he's mad because of that. And then I'm mad that you don't want to focus on what I want to focus on, and I'm mad that you're acting like what I think is important ain't important to you. And I'm Roland Martin. I don't have no neck, and I'm an alpha, and I'm bougie, and I dance with Hillary Clinton. So you should listen to me because I'm almost 60, even though I'm up here acting like a little hoe.
Well, that's
paraphrasing, of course.
No, that was all me.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
Yeah. Yes.
The one issue I do have with Black people, specifically Black pundits who benefited from 8 years of Barack Obama and being able to build their platforms off of Democratic contributions, is this alliance that they seem to have with the Democratic Party as if the Democratic Party is any better for black people than the Republican Party. They're both the same, two sides of a different coin in regards to what they do, their benefits for, and therefore their destructive habits towards the black community. So anytime, and this goes to black people who just want to always fall on the sword, defending every institution, but standing tall on what looks best or what works best for black people. I have a strong issue with that. I have a strong issue with the fact that the fact that he can be triggered off the word conservative to assume that, assert that, because I didn't hear the young man say he was a Republican.
He didn't.
Yeah, so to actually be triggered that much, at this particular time, and this isn't nothing new. Roland Martin has a habit of doing ambush journalism.
Yep.
Yeah.
In regards to people who speak from about being black first and moving in that direction. He has an issue. I can remember a few interviews when he was on TV1, and he ambushed several people of notoriety that I'm not going to mention their names, but this seems to be his thing, and I often wonder though if this wasn't done as sort of some type of shock journalism to sort of like make Roland become relevant in the social media airwaves again, because now everybody's talking about him. 2 weeks ago, nobody was saying anything about Roland Martin.
That's an option. That is an option. If so, it's a whole ass option, but it is an option. Being that you a grown ass man and this cat is 21. And it's like, even if you disagree with his stance, like that's not the space to do that, even though you think it is. But that's not the stance to do that for a young dude. Like you could have been like on camera, how can I help you? But behind camera, hey, how about doing these things like this and this and that? And it's a poor way of building rapport between the elders and the youth.
Well, you got to understand something too, though. And like you mentioned before, Roland's a part of the Black Boule, so he's part of the Sigma Pi Phi. What is it? I think it's Sigma Pi Phi. He's part of that Boule network, and that Boule network is one of those things where they try to raise community leaders.
He got white people on his website modeling his clothes. No, I mean, look, man, the dude sounds like, and I'm not gonna use the terminology that makes him sound like a child, because at 21 he is a grown man. Roland Martin is just an older man who should be a lot more put together than he is in terms of dealing with a young man. But the programs, like I said, from what I could see, it looks like a legit program. It looks like a program that's needed. We're constantly talking about programs to teach life skills, that teach gives apprenticeships and teaches kids how to do things that will allow them to be able to take care of themselves and have a decent life without necessarily having to go to school. Certification programs, things like that, like, car mechanics, welding, which, if you get good at, if you get lock up a decent welding situation, you making really good money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you ain't got to deal with the females out there that's targeting high value men, because they don't know that welders are make good money. So
blue collar brothers don't get no love.
Hey, right, because blue collar brothers make money. Like, I got family in Louisiana right now that's doing very, 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 very well for themselves doing blue collar work. So, but it like I said, it looks like a good program. I see he's trying to start a preparatory school for boys.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know enough about like the total curriculum and stuff like that, like how all of that is going to shake out. But the program that he has right now looks solid. But again, like this whole this whole thing with Roland Martin and ambush journalism, because I don't like ambush journalism. I don't like it. I
I
don't
don't like
like it.
Roland Martin.
Well, I don't care for Roland Martin either, but I'm not gonna sit here and say I dislike him. I just don't care for him.
I don't like the whole
Um,
stuff he do. I put it like that.
but I don't like ambush journalism, and I don't like it when anybody does it. I don't feel like there's a place for it in media. Period. You know what I'm saying? So I disagree with it. I disagree with it when he did it to
To
Umar
Umar.
Johnson. And you know how I feel about Umar. But even then I was like, yo, that's some fuck shit. Why would you do that to this man? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
But see, that was the thing about the interview that he just couldn't get over. It's like he was going above and beyond to prove to this young man that you need government in as many aspects of your life as possible. And the young man's thing was he want to inspire the youth that he's working with and other black people to do for self as much as possible, to take as much government out. He literally said this, to take as much government out of our lives to be able to do for self as much as possible. And Roland Martin spent the next 30 minutes trying to figure out a way to get this man to agree that you need as much government in your life as
but
possible.
But see, that's a political debate that
Right.
Roland Martin, being the older, more intelligent, like he would like us to believe, individual, should have been able to compartmentalize the political discussion that they rolled into from what the young man was actually saying. The young man being a conservative, conservatives don't like big government. They want the government to be as small and weak and impotent and ineffective as possible. Roland Martin being a Democrat and a liberal and a progressive, he's all of them. They want gigantic government. So just that
You
in
know,
and of
socialism.
itself, yeah, yeah, just that in and of itself should have been one of them situations where it's like, okay, I understand what he's saying. On a political level, I disagree with it, but on a cultural level, as a black person, I get
Hey,
what he's saying and I rock with it. It's just that simple.
Malcolm X told us to keep an eye on them liberals.
I
Yeah,
mean,
we're gonna do a good job of listening though.
no, we don't do a good job of listening to nobody. You know, honestly, I would rather the white person that tell me they don't like me than the white person that is doing
Yeah,
fucked up shit behind my
yeah.
back and smiling in my face. And I would rather deal with the white person that's done an honest self-assessment to say I don't like you versus dealing with the white person that don't like you but don't know that they don't like you and don't know why they don't like you, and they just keep trying to do right by you, but because they don't like you, they keep fucking you up.
I don't
I
think they
don't.
don't know. I think they know. I think this
I
is a
think
little bit
some of them.
tongue in cheek.
I think some of them are honestly think that they are doing right by black people with the fucked up shit that they do because they got a god complex.
You mean like the abolitionists did in the 1800s?
Yeah, I'm not saying all. Like I agree with you, PC. I do think there are quite a few of them
But
that
but
know, but it's just tongue in cheek. But I think it's a lot of
right.
them that they don't. They honestly think
But
they doing right.
but you are also saying that this is not a new concept because it was happening in the 1800s
Oh
with
yeah, yeah, yeah.
abolition.
It was happening in the 1800 with the
I'm
abolitionists.
just
It was
I'm just making
happening.
sure people heard that you said that.
Yeah, it was happening prior to that. I mean, if you read Dr. Blyden's book on Christianity, Islam, and the Negro race, he has a number of passages in there going back to the 1600s where he talks about white people, missionaries particularly, going
Mhm.
over there and doing what they honestly felt like they was doing God's work, and they honestly in their heart of hearts believed that they had no ill will or malice towards these people, but they
Mhm.
were fucking these people up.
Yeah.
And then of course there were those other people that knew exactly what the fuck they was doing. You know, they always out there.
Uh,
But
I, I I just have a hard time just giving any, because I'm like, they have to prove to me that they
oh, I
don't
agree with
really
that.
understand what they're doing, because the second you take, like, it's like what is it, some of these kids that come from these affluent families but they claim to be liberal and supportive, let them lose out on any particular opportunity to somebody that's black, and then you get to see a whole different side of them.
Oh
And so
yeah,
you get to
yeah.
you get to see a whole different
The truth
view.
come out.
Yeah, so this concept of the the liberal, the supportive liberal, I just think it's like, if like, what was that movie, Get Out, where the liberals were sitting there bidding on how they were going to, you know, still snatch up black bodies and shit. I just think that it's one of those situations where, they just paint this different picture, but they all have the same ideology and understanding in terms of their whole importance. They, like you said, their God complex, their overall support importance as white people in the world. But that's neither here nor there, because that's really what we really need to speak to. What we've been speaking on is the fact that Roland Martin has himself shown himself to be, not necessarily uh, an ally to the community. Rather, he's an ally to these special interest groups. And
Yeah,
because of those things, he should not be allowed to be seen as a representative of our community. Point blank, our community needs an overhaul anyway, in terms of, creating a codified culture to begin with, so that we won't have people all over the place trying to identify as being black when we don't know who they really align with. But more so, in regards to his conversation with the young man, and like you said, Pat, I ain't gonna, call him a boy. He's a young man at this point. We really have to, we see, this is where I hold black men accountable, not for yesterday, but for today and going forward. We have to build a black man's economy, that so that we don't have to worry about non-black influences in the ears of these young brothers and sisters who are trying to build something. That could be us. But that's sort of like, the next step in our evolution, and it's a must if we are to evolve. Because, like you said, the 90s were that time, and I made a lot of money in the 90s and the early 2000s. The 90s were that time for us to build on that, and we didn't. We have to sort of find a new renaissance or something quietly, not this whole, but where we
yeah.
where we are putting ourselves in position to where we put ourselves in position to be that support, the resource that our community needs, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm not mad that he got the support that he has, but when people are paying something, they typically want something out of it.
No,
Yeah.
I think like I said, the young man, I applaud him. He a conservative. Honestly, black people, if we
Are
really be
conservative.
honest about it, most of us are conservative. We just don't fuck with Republicans.
Right.
Like,
Right.
let's be clear. Like, and that's even the Democrats. Most of these liberal democratic black people, when you really stand them next to a true liberal, they're conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have other political issues that aren't based in the size of the government. They're more based in like what the fuck the government is doing to us. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't have time to get into these conversations based on definitions and shit that don't have nothing to do with what's impacting us. Roland Martin, um, he should feel like a piece of shit for even handling a dude that's trying to come up and do something in that
He don't.
manner.
He
Well,
should.
I
He
know
should.
he
He
should,
should
but he
feel like a piece
should.
of shit with corn in it. But
But
what the what's troubling is he made a follow up video trying to uh, show
Damage control.
receipts that the young man did the bait and switch on him when he came on the show.
Damage
Tried
control.
to trying to cover his butt and hammer home the fact that he was right. And then you got a panel of three other adults who are up there being yes men and yes women. Yeah, you're right, Roland. Yeah, yeah. And it's like y'all need y'all ass whooped. All four of y'all need y'all ass whooped, because this is not the way you handle something like this, especially being in being somebody, because the young man was like, I used to look up to you.
Yeah.
But it go back to one of the conversations Pat and I had a while ago about meeting your heroes.
Yeah.
You often get disappointed. When
you pedestalize people.
It's not the greatest way of and I mean, to be fair, people are human. So you idolize somebody, you don't see the human part of them, because you typically look at them in terms of like a deified status. But still, that was a dick move by Roland to try to upstand the young brother instead of trying to build him up. He that was an attempt to break him down. And then in that stance, he gets very, he gets low marks from me. You know what I'm saying? I give him less benefit than from his chin to his chest.
That's not far.
I should have took it back.
That's like right there. That's no benefit at all. There's no room.
But yeah, he deserved that, because you can't you do stuff like that. We had a movie that just came out, the Judas and the Black Messiah, and we have a lot of Judases in our community, and that's a Judas move.
Hey, look, and then to throw on top of this the Boyce Watkins aspect, because Boyce is messy and Boyce don't like Roland. So as soon as Boyce seen this, Boyce had the young man on his show, did an interview with the young man, and they had several conversations about it. The lady Vicky Diller called him sassy Roland Martin, and it just it's blew up to more and more and more now, because you got the Boyce Watkins camp versus the Roland Martin camp, and King Randall in the middle, just trying to help the young man in Albany, Georgia. That's it.
He done got caught up in some bullshit that he really don't have, that he really shouldn't have been caught up in. Like, and this is where my frustration with Boyce Watkins steps in, because the dude is hyper emotional, and hyper messy, and the two don't mesh well for the position that he's carved out for himself. Because Boyce Watkins is in a position where he could truly be a positive and uplifting source of information for the Black community, but he chooses to be messy as shit for no reason. You know what I'm saying? He chooses to get down in the weeds and the undercut people and to do this, and then on top of that, anybody that put his dirt on blast for all of the fucked up, slimy, shiesty shit he done. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of them things where he's one of them people, to me, he's throwing a rock in a glass house and hiding his hand at the same time. Like, I just, like, there are a lot of things that Boyce does that I can't rock with. His little brother seems cool. So, but Boyce, I'm like really disappointed when I think about Boyce Watkins. It's just disappointing.
But yeah, Boyce Watkins, he's too damn messy and petty for me. Like, a lot of times, a lot of things that they discuss on the channel, I just got to keep scrolling, because, man, why are we wasting time and resources into these things, whether you may think it's relevant or not? Man, come on, man. You're dealing in more gossip than anything, and this was a time to take a shot at Roland Martin, because it was wide open. And then I just actually, PC, before you came on, I was telling Pat, I saw a video earlier. Now I haven't gone to Tariq's page to confirm this, because we had to do the show, but there's a YouTube channel, and the dude on the YouTube channel was saying that Tariq Nasheed is War for Peace. I think War for Peace channel is the name of the channel. Yeah, War for Peace channel, and the title of the video is Tariq Nasheed exposed beef with young man King Randall and lied to his followers. So I'm guessing King Randall also identifies as ADOS, and that's something I was looking at earlier. And so I don't know the extent of the things that's going on with Tariq Nasheed, but from this guy's channel is Tariq Nasheed saw that interview with Roland Martin and took it as a shot toward reparations and I guess the foundational Black Americans, or whatever. Not saying that that's actually true because I hadn't seen it for myself, but according to the War and Peace channel, this is what's going on now.
I have no clue because, honestly, I've been taking large breaks from social media, so I haven't really been seeing a lot of that back and forth. I just say that controversy sells, and in a
Yeah.
day and time when attention is currency, whatever is going to drum up the most attention seems to be what people are flocking to nowadays. So, I mean, I can't really speak here nor there in terms of like the circle of beef that's percolating, but like I said, as Black people, it really comes across as the fact that none of us, and I'm not talking about a present company, but I'm just saying as a whole, none of us really believe we can beat white supremacy or white domination. So we choose to, exude our masculinity in a toxic manner towards each other. And so we started having these pissing contests, and we start doing all those things instead of figuring out, hey, listen, I don't like you, but I think we can still work together because you have this and I have that, and we can put it together. We don't have to like each other. But then that goes to a point of being a mature community. And I understand not dealing with people who you feel as though like a backstabbers or whatever. Like I probably could never work with a Roland Martin just because he's so bought in or so clicked in with
So
the Democratic
necklace.
Party. Yeah, well, the Democratic Party pimps him. So I can't, I could never trust them. But some of these other brothers and sisters, particularly the brothers, I just think that I think that there needs to be a detente or some shit because if not, you don't want to be the only nigga standing. And I'm using that term for the purpose of using it, but you don't want to be the only nigga standing at the end of this because you become an easy target and an easy mark. You know what I'm saying? Nation building, teamwork. That's why I always push nation building because nation building protects you from other nations as they hit you as a nation. And we just seen that's the concept.
Oh, so you mean us working together in a united faction? That's what we should be. That's what we should be doing.
I think
Yeah,
I don't
but
even want to use the word united. Just being
yeah,
loyal to creating a loyalty. Like in World War II, America and the Soviet Union had to broker a deal. They didn't like each other. In fact, the day after World War, even during World War II, they had already identified that they would be enemies after the war was won. But they both had a common enemy in Hitler and the Axis nations. So America had to jump in there because of what Japan was doing in the Pacific, more so than anything else. And Russia needed help with keeping Germany off their ass. Soviet Union. But right afterwards, they became the world's two superpowers and had a Cold War that lasted 40 years. You know what I'm saying? You recognize who you need right now to help you win the war that we're facing, the war that's on our doorstep. And then after we win the war, we can go back to how things are, create a different type of reality for ourselves. But, hey, egos matter. That's what the new t-shirt should be. Egos matter.
yeah. And
It's egos in the room and can't nobody, they're surprised they can fit their head through the door.
Cause that's what's crazy to me, right? This dude is 21 years old. Like 3 years ago, we would be calling him a boy. So let's be clear about this. And then you got all of these grown men, 40, 50-year-old grown men, using this boy as a pawn in their own personal beefs. Like, what are we doing? I don't know about the Tariq Nasheed angle. And I always tell you guys, I put Tariq Nasheed in a different. I put him in a different category, anyways, because Tariq Nasheed is very transparent about what he is.
Right.
And I respect honesty. Even if I disagree with what you're doing, if you're honest about it, I feel like nobody has a right to be mad about it.
Right.
You can't be mad at Tariq Nasheed. Right.
He never claimed to be no leader, no savior, nothing like that. He He'll just do what he do.
No, matter of fact, last time I heard him speak on it, he was actively pushing back against being put on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so he's different from a Roland Martin who wants to be seen in a certain light, and a Boyce Watkins who wants to be seen in a certain type of light. Those situations are different. And I agree with what you said earlier about Boyce Watkins. He's so petty. Like some of the stuff he covers, I actually think is relevant. But the way he covers it, he always finds a way to infuse his own personal grievance into something. You know what I'm saying? He always finds a way to make it about him or about somebody close to him or I don't know. And he could very easily hit his shit and be like, you ain't listened to enough of my content. That's not me at all. That's fine. And the honest truth is I've seen enough to where I'm not gonna look at a lot of your content anymore. Like there was a time where I used to look at Boyce Watkins content a lot. There was a time where I used to follow Roland Martin a lot. Both of those guys are not the type of men that I personally look up to, or that I think should be looked up to, or engaged, or anything. Like I'm not gonna look at either one of them and point to my sons and say, "That's an example of a stand-up guy that you should try to model your life after." That's not gonna happen.
Mhm.
So if I can't point to you and say, look, to my sons, that's somebody that you could pull a lot of information from as far as how to be a man in this world, then I'm not going to support your content. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel
So
bad for the boy though.
yeah.
The
But
man, I'm sorry.
so check out his website, the the letter X, the X for boys.org. THEXFORBOYS.org. If you click on gallery, you'll see a number of the programs that they have for young men. So they do exterior painting, plasma cutting, which is welding, home improvement, teaching them how to fix things around the house.
Hey man, go to the website, Joe. You ain't got to read all that out, man. Y'all
I'm
go to
saying
that man
I'm
website.
saying teach you how to
No,
build fences and
y'all go to
automotive
that man
repair.
website. Look,
Damn it,
go
I
to that
said it.
man website.
Stop it,
Joe
Pat.
Shit.
doing the whole commercial.
Stop it,
Right.
Pat. You gonna
Sponsored
now
by.
you know. Now you know. KY
Nah,
Jelly.
cause they ain't gonna go to the man website if you read the website to them. They probably
It's
ain't
down
gonna go anyways. But shit.
because they support Roland Martin. If you don't go. But check it out, man. The exforboys.org. Check it out. Hey man. Hey, once again, PC, where can people get your book?
Man, call me. They can go to like I said, my book is available on Amazon right now. I'm still trying to figure out whether or not I'm going to tack it onto my website, blackindependence.org. I think I might just end up doing that. But also, they can just hit me up on Facebook because they got Facebook Messenger, IG, DM. Both my pages are open. Just Carl Tone Jones, and you can find me anywhere. And if you know, the type of person that likes to correspond through email, you can hit me up at ctone1111.cj@gmail.com. That's ctone1111.cj@gmail.com. And
All
appreciate
right. All right. Pat, where can people get your book?
Amazon. Amazon.com. Use the smile thing so that you can donate a portion of your proceeds to a nonprofit. I would like you to pick PAX, but if there's another nonprofit out there that you want to support, cool. Just support. Like I just want people to get in the habit of supporting organizations doing shit.
And what's the name of
So
your book?
my book is The Chasm,
The Chasm.
the seemingly growing divide between black men and black women. That's The Chasm. That's CHASM. And if you type in The
extremely
Chasm,
relevant.
yeah, if you type in The Chasm, by Patrick Irvin, it should pop up. It's also available on Audible, the audio book. So yeah. That's what you can get. But nah, if you hit me up, I'm gonna send you a link to Amazon.
There it is. And y'all catch all 3 of my volumes on the Shoulders of Giants. Volume 1 North America, Volume 2 Central America, Volume 3 South America. First on my website at ontheshoulders1.com, ontheshoulders1.com. Go to there. If you want the Kindle version, go to Amazon, type in On the Shoulders of Giants, Joseph Ward, and my information will come up. But go to my website. Also, my online course is available. Module 1, Freedom Fighters of the African Diaspora. Check that out, www.ontheshoulders1.com. Make sure y'all go to Freedom Train website at freedomtrainradio.com. Check out everything we got. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like, comment, and share the videos. And, support Black media, support Black men who are here doing our thing and working to uplift our race. So he's Patrick Irvin. He's Professor Carl Tone Jones. I'm Joseph Ward, a.k.a. Jerrick Daxyn, a.k.a. Dr. Tip. Hey, we out of here.